It is a Sunday afternoon, and I am getting ready to do a roasted chicken. Well, in this case, it's roasted game hen. And what I did last night was I marinated these four Cornish game hens, and I marinated them in a chimichurri sauce. And I'll take them out here once I get them up to room temperature and put them on the roasting pan and everything like that. I'll stuff it probably with a lemon or a lime, and then I'll cook it with half a pound or a pound and a half of potatoes, carrots, and onions that I've diced up in the chunks over here as well too. The chimichurri you can do homemade. You can get your fresh herbs, your olive oil, and your red wine vinegar. In this case, I used a pre-made chimichurri, or at least a dry mix from Spice House. I'm not endorsing them. I'm not paid by them or anything else along those lines. But I do like how Spice House does all of their mixes and ships them out and everything else along those lines. In the oven right now, I've got baked beans. I redid them again from a couple weeks ago because when I made them the first time around, I in a way, I guess I overcooked them. The beans themselves turned out perfectly fine when they're in the Dutch oven, but I left them to warm for a little bit longer than I should have inside of the Dutch oven, and they got a little dried out. In this case, I did things a little bit differently. I actually added more liquid to the beans as I was cooking them before I put them into the oven. And in this case, the reserved liquid from the 6 cups that I made that broth out of, a cup and a half remain, which is perfect because that's what the recipe actually calls for. It calls for a cup to a half a cup of reserve. I had a half a cup extra on top of that, but I still added it to it anyways. And I've been checking it every 30 minutes. I also dropped the temperature down from 375 to 350. And that temperature difference also was key as well too, because when I'm looking at it, the beans are still cooking, but it's not this violent boil that's going on inside of the Dutch oven. So it's retaining the moisture like it should. The added extra broth is helping out as well too. So I have higher expectations for it this time around than I did last time. So in this case, I'll bring the camera over here and I will show you what I've done. So I did a very rough cut, I would say 1-inch chunks on all of the vegetables here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add probably a half a tablespoon, maybe a little bit less, of zaatar to all of these vegetables. And roasting zaatar with vegetables just enhances the flavor so much more. And if you've never used zaatar before, it's a good Middle Eastern herb mix that you can have with pitas or other things along those lines. And I like the way it tastes with certain things, especially vegetables and chicken. So I'll give this a good mix. Make sure that they're all coated very well. I added some. The oil I added in this case is actually an avocado oil. I went fancy. You could use olive oil if you want to, though at the temperature I'm going to bake this at and for the time that I'm going to bake it for, I think that adding the higher temperature avocado oil is going to work out a lot better. Because when I'm roasting the chicken, I'm going to roast it for an hour and a half, probably. It says an hour to hour and 15, but if you're doing the vegetables with it, that also brings the temperature down as well too. So I think I'm going to do it for an hour and a half at 350. So as you can see, all my vegetables are nicely coated with the zaatar. I added some salt and pepper to this already as well too. Just probably a teaspoon each of salt and pepper to it. And with the onions, same thing. I did that with all the other vegetables as well too. And what I'm really hoping for with these onions as well too is that they get nice and caramelized as well too, because I like a nice firm onion, like I have them chunked out here, but I also like it when they get nice and sweet from all the roasting that I do to it. So here we go. This is all mixed up. Let me finish off the beans, and then I'll pull the chicken out. Now I could spatchcock the chicken as well too, but in this case, I'm going to roast them whole instead of removing the backbone and splitting them out. I probably need a bigger roasting pan to do it. 4 of them will fit very nicely on the roasting pan I have. I spatchcock it and lay it out flat. Would definitely take up much more room. So there you go. The beans are done and they're sitting off over here on the side. I can lift up and they look really nice. If I left them in there any longer, they'd probably be overdone. So let's get this all sorted out. So I've got my Cornish game hens here that have been sitting and marinating overnight. And we're just going to pull these out. Now, I could pat them dry, everything else along those lines, but they've already got the seasoning on them, so I'm not going to even bother doing that because patting these dry, what's that going to do to them? Absolutely nothing. But and I'll move the camera here in a second so you can see how these are all fitting onto the cooking surface. Now I got a little bit of juice left inside of here, and my hands are an absolute mess. What I may do, and I don't think this is going to do any harm to anything at all, is I could add the last little bit of marinade to the potatoes and to the carrots. Now, what I'm going to do here with this is I am going to quarter up this lemon here, or this lime, and I'm going to stuff the cavity of the Cornish game hens with this lime. I do this with turkeys as well too. You add an orange, like a quarter of an orange or something like that to it, and it just helps add moisture to it. And then after you're done cooking it, you can actually eat the citrus that's inside of the bird or on the pan as well too. So there you go. Now you can actually see everything as they're sitting here on the, and I'll put the onions over here on this side. And this is a quarter baking, or a quarter size, or a half. This is my larger baking sheet. I'm careful here not to touch the Dutch oven because the Dutch oven is extra hot because it just came out of a 350-degree oven that I'm going to place all this into. Now, there's not a lot of room left here, but that's fine. And the way I do these potatoes, sorry that I'm not talking while I'm laying this stuff out here on the baking sheet, but the stuff on the top will end up nice and crispy, and the stuff on the bottom will end up a little bit softer, if not al dente in a way. And that way you get a little bit of a mix on your vegetables as well too. So there you go. Everything is nice and neatly laid out on the baking sheet. I'm going to put this in the oven for about an hour and a half, hour and 15, give or take. I'll take a look at an hour 15 just to see what it looks like. I'm thinking it's going to take probably slightly longer just because of the way I have the vegetables piled up, and because of the marinade as well too, and because they're stuffed. So here we go. And into the oven, set the timer, and I'll see you in about 90 minutes. So I just pulled the chicken out of the oven, and it's been in here for about an hour and 20 minutes, give or take. I did increase the temperature up to 400 degrees about 10 minutes into the cook, which did help accelerate things a little bit more. And just by looking at this, the chicken itself is nice and crispy. The meat falls right off the bone, and it's a golden brown as well too. So it's perfectly done, at least to my liking. Now, if you wanted to, you could probably keep it in here for another probably 5 to 10 minutes the most, if you wanted to get a little bit more color on the skin. But that's about it. In looking at this, there is no pink in it. And I wouldn't expect there to be any pink in it, especially at this temperature that you're cooking it at, especially even down to the bone. So it looks good. I'll split these in half. There's 4 of them here. That'll last me about a week or so. I might freeze one. But for all this, the carrots are done. The potatoes are definitely done. And the onions are nicely caramelized and cooked as well too. So this turned out well. As for the beans that I have sitting here inside of the oven, they actually have some nice color to them as well too. And there's a lot of moisture inside of them as well too. And I'm well pleased with how these turned out compared to the last time I made them. So in looking at this, I'll just take a bite of the carrot just to see how it tastes. It's definitely cooked. This is hard in it. Adds a nice earthiness to it as well too. The potatoes, crispy on the outside, creamy on the inside. Very well done. And I'll get to the chicken here in a minute. But the beans have that nice tanginess to them that I had in the last time. Add a little bit less of the yellow mustard. I probably added 1/8 of a cup instead of the 2 tablespoons or the half cup that I added originally. It calls for 2 tablespoons in the original recipe. But overall, this looks like in my opinion, this looks like a nice Sunday roast. Everything looks good. I apologize. I like the flavor of this. Zaatar goes really good on the vegetables, and I tried this again. But anyways, bon appetit.